Under the same roof, we share the love, embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. And now do we stand in love's pure might, watching the world share in love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. And now do we stand in love's pure might.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Watching the World. We were supposed to be filming in New York live today and also doing some prearranged work, but we woke up this morning to a war, and we heard that from the President of the United States. That was the first thing that I saw today as I turned on social media and news. The President of the United States warning everybody about the strikes that were occurring in Iran. We're going to get to that right away. We'd like to ask you guys to hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Today we're going to talk about a few key points when it comes to the news. We're going to talk about the war that's happening and why it's happening. Although many people say, well, we think it's a distraction. Today we're going to get to it. We're also going to take a look at what Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton had to say, as they say, we'll hear it from the horse's mouth, in regards to the depositions that I covered for the last 2 days here in New York. A lot of people tuned in to get the backdrop to see what's happening. And even though in Arizona I receive a lot of pushback for the coverage, because a lot of times we're giving you a raw feed, giving you an idea of what it's like to be boots on the ground at some of the biggest events that happen now. This is a new day and age, but I will tell you, even in New York, there's some pushback, especially when it comes to Secret Service, not understanding, because usually they're used to seeing the big networks. But at any rate, guys, we have all the credentials needed to be there. And it's a beautiful thing to broadcast live to help you understand what it's like to prepare to give your narrative. A lot of times when I go to the courthouse, you'll find many of the anchors, and then you have reporters. Did you know there's a difference? The anchors, they have more of a whistle and bell approach. And many times they have the teleprompters out there, and all they have to do is read the words that are already fed to them from a higher source. What a beautiful thing to be able to perform at the highest level. And many times these individuals have 5 to 10 people working in unison with them outside the courthouse, outside of the crime scene. Because in many cases, the anchors are reporting to different networks. There's a lot of logistics to go to it. But then you have the reporters that don't get all of the whistles and bells, and they're reporting, a lot of which has to fly off the dome, as they said, right off the top of the head. Very similar to what I have to do when I'm out there, boots on the ground. It takes a lot of skill to be able to speak at that type of level, but it's great that you get to hear what's happening around the world from individuals that are actually there on site. So today we're going to get started, starting off with the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, as he warns the world about what's happening in regards to Iran. Let's get to it and see what the president has to say.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years.
And I just want to say, guys, we cannot take this lightly. because we think it's far away. Because even here in New York, we're on high alert today and moving around because they don't know just what this could mean here in our own country. And I want to say thank you to the people that are here already. The deep fake. Thank you so much, Ruby. Michonne is holding us down. Thank you so much. And we also have David was here. Great, great. Nice to have you. One of the first in the building. Shout out to you. Look up. Let's get to it.
The Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again, they can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil.
Guys, put a 1 in the chat if you agree with the president and the administration declaring war on Iran. Put a 2 if you think it was unnecessary, or if you disagree. Put a 3 if you just don't care.
But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world. and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for...
Thank you to everyone that voted. It appears that most individuals that have participated feel like they're behind the president going into Iran and showing strength. Thank you.
For the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take...
It appears that the United States is trying to do a targeted action in order to promote a regime change. We'll see how this all plays out.
Over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future.
All right, so the president is talking to the people of Iran, trying to promote them to get behind this action. AI Star C says, yes, boots on the ground to take all the oil. Look Up says, he is a liar. He is an embarrassment, liar, con, pedophile, corrupt being, working with Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, thank you for your comment. AI Star sees, yes, it is a war, but not World War III. Okay, thank you guys for your comments.
That is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all. Thank you.
Okay, so there you have it from the President of the United States. There's so much happening. In fact, Iran is also pushing back. It's not just a one-way street, folks, and we wonder, what does that mean? In fact, there are other places that we wouldn't probably imagine being attacked that they have been attacked too. In fact, let's get to a reporting on that now.
So to our chief national security correspondent, Jennifer Griffin. She's at the Pentagon. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning. Hi, Lawrence. I'm here in the D.C. Bureau.
Guys, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. AI Starseed says Iran is just getting warmed up. Don't think it's just a cakewalk. So we expect to see major activity from both sides, every sides of the game here, but we're going to keep reporting about this.
But I just want to point out that almost exactly 5 hours ago, we got the first alert that the Israeli missiles and the U.S. missiles had struck Iran. It was a joint operation from the get-go. I'm told that this operation will last not hours, but days. This is an open-ended operation with a wide variety of targets. I'm told from a senior U.S. military official that the U.S. is focused.
What's very intriguing about this is that Israel is tied in, partnering up with the United States for some of these actions. The deepfake says, we do not sit in conference rooms and hear the logic behind these operations. Thank you very much. Shout out to you, Willows, and thank you to Look Up for your comments as well. Thank you. We have Jeff. Jeff says, I hope the citizens can find and I lost that, what so much desire. Okay, and maybe that's peace or some sort of freedom. The comments are moving fast, so I may have to ask the moderators to slow it down. Thank you.
Focusing on military targets, on ballistic missile sites, on anything that could pose an immediate threat, on the Iranian Navy. But the Israelis are targeting Iran's leadership. So any of the targets that you hear about, the Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei being targeted, the defense minister being targeted, those are being carried out by the Israelis. Let me mention some of the targets that we know were hit this morning in Tehran: the Defense Ministry, the Parliament, the National Supreme Council, the Ministry of Intelligence, the Iranian Atomic Energy Agency. There have been cyber attacks across.
A lot of people are saying that this is a distraction. We hear that a lot, especially from the Epstein files. Tell us in the comments why you agree with that or you disagree. Tell us.
Iran, and the internet is not up and working, but the cyber attacks have focused on the news agencies like IRNA, which is the state-run television. The U.S. military has also targeted down in the south the naval bases in Bandar Abbas as well as in Kark Island. And then what's also interesting is out in the east of Iran, there's a target near Tabriz and Kermanshah, which is the IRGC aerospace forces. That's significant because that's where they would have been developing those.
You see in the background, imagine you're walking down the street and you see all of these bombs dropping. It has to be terrifying. Kathy says, good morning, Mel. Praying this is over soon and the Iranian people can take this opportunity to regain their freedoms. Thank you, Kathy.
Long-range ballistic missiles, satellites that also could have been part of that intercontinental ballistic missile program that they were trying to develop that the president referenced. But the biggest problem right now is the stockpile of cruise missiles and ballistic missiles that the Iranians built up since last summer, because they were terribly degraded last summer in the 12-day war. But they have been working to rebuild that missile supply. We're seeing some of those missiles being fired at Israel. As Trey reported, they have, for the most part, been intercepted by the air defenses. But of all of the U.S. military bases in the Gulf, the only country where U.S. bases were not targeted this morning is Oman. And of course, Oman's foreign minister had been leading and mediating those talks in Geneva, and then came here to Washington to lobby Vice President J.D. Vance to try and avert.
So as we can see, Israel is close enough to take the heat. They're taking on weapons too. Jeff said, we miss you, definitely out in Arizona, but I'm still here and I can easily go back if something happens that's major. But I keep my eyes on it. And in fact, we're going to cover Nancy Guthrie a little bit today. 95 says, this is prophecy happening. Are you talking about in regards to the Bible? All I can always count on Bass Girl. Thank you very much for being here. Good morning to you so much. Thank you. All right, guys. So now we're going to switch up a little bit. We're going to, as you know, for the last 2 days, I was out covering Hillary and Bill Clinton. So today we're going to get a chance to see what their words were. We were boots on the ground showing you some of the background. If you go back to Thursday, I was able to record the representatives as they came out, and they were expressing their concerns about the Clintons. In fact, They said, oh, it's been so many months. We tried to get the Clintons here and they resisted. So you can go back and see that from the Republican angle, but also from the Democrats. The Democrats used their microphone as an opportunity to say that Donald Trump, there are some major issues within the Epstein files in regards to him and minors. But they also pointed out, namely Garcia, talked about how there are some instances with a 13-year-old female that was removed from the files involving the president, and they wanted to know why these pages were not released. And they pointed out that there's so many more files that are yet to come out. So we're definitely going to keep reporting on that. But today I'm going to show you what Hillary Clinton had to say and also Bill. Let's take a look and see what Hillary had to say in regards to her deposition.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Good evening. Well, I have just finished testifying. I answered every one of their questions as fully as I could, based on what I knew, and what I knew is what I said in my statement this morning. I never met Jeffrey Epstein, never had any connection or communication with him. I knew Ghislaine Maxwell casually as an acquaintance, but whatever they asked me, I did my very best to respond. It was disappointing that they refused to hold a public hearing, so I wouldn't have to be out here characterizing it for you. You could have seen.
Now, being boots on the ground, it was said by many of the representatives that when Hillary Clinton was asked certain questions, she would always say, well, you would have to ask my husband. She started off her deposition with a statement saying that she hadn't ever really met Epstein before, so she really couldn't add a lot of commentary to this whole scenario, but that was her position in the matter. But as we watch this, I would like for you guys to tell us, does she sound convincing?
It for yourself. We had asked for that. We think it would have been better for the committee and its efforts to gather whatever.
And yes, Bass Girl, there will be wars and rumors of wars in the last days. Thank you.
Information they are seeking. We had a bit of a challenge in the beginning because we had agreed upon rules based on the fact it was going to be a closed hearing at their demand, and one of the members violated that rule, which was very upsetting because it suggested that they might violate other of our.
Okay, so did you hear what she said? One of the members, right, Lauren, violated the rules. Let me explain. When Hillary Clinton was arriving, I was boots on the ground. Many of us wanted to be able to take a picture of her or photograph her, video her walking into the hall there. But she had already put out a request saying she did not want to be filmed in any way. Well, lo and behold, it was around noontime and the proceedings had already started. And someone, one of the representatives, namely Lauren, took a picture of her and sent it out to a podcaster, a personality called Benny, I believe, and he shared it at large. And this is what caused the whole hearing to come to a pause. But they resumed, and we were able to finish out the day. We were out there for a long time waiting for her to come out. And these are her words. But before I get back to this, I want to highlight what Marie Harkinson has to say. She says the Trump 2025 plan to take over countries and cause wars was the GAP plan all along. Trump wants us to be a superpower because China is getting stronger every year. Thank you, Marie, for your great comment. AI says regime change? Nope. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you.
Our agreements. So we had to cease the hearing for a period of time until we could get assurances that no rules would be broken going forward, and we returned to answer questions repetitively, literally over and over again. I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. I never went to his island. I never went to his homes. I never went to his offices. So it's on the record numerous times. It then got, at the end, quite unusual because I started being asked about UFOs and a series of questions about Pizzagate, one of the most vile, bogus conspiracy theories that was propagated on the internet.
And just so you know, we were talking outside and trying to figure out what are some things, if she's already on record said, I don't know anything about Epstein, never met him, never went to the island, what would they be asking her? And one of the things I thought, they're going to start asking her all these other questions that has nothing to do with Epstein while they have her in the hot seat. And here she is confirming that. But guys, stay alert, especially here on Watching the World. We keep our eyes open. But now we're starting to hear about UFOs all over. We've heard it from Barack Obama. We've heard it from Donald Trump. Now we're hearing it from Hillary Clinton and many, many more. Why is that the case, and why is it now? In fact, yesterday it came out that they don't want to release information in regards to the UFOs because it would really hurt people in their view of God, and it would really cause a crisis of faith for those that are religiously inclined. So what is it that they're holding back that they think if they release the information, it's going to cause people to change the way they view religion and their God? We have to wonder, right?
Was serving as the basis of a member's questions to me. So I can only say that the best exchange that I had came at the very end, when, contrary to every other deposition they have taken, no Republican member asked any questions about Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell to anyone else they have deposed. And in fact, the Republican members didn't even show up for the deposition of Les Wexner. And when I said that, I had to point out that the only questions that any Republican member asked of any of the people they deposed was of
Good afternoon, Valerie.
former Attorney General Bill Barr, when Chairman Comer asked him about the allegations, in his view, about Russia's involvement in my election in 2016. So at the very end of this hearing, after I made that point, I want to commend Chairman Comer for raising a series of significant questions that I responded to.
While I was boots on the ground, it came out that Hillary Clinton was really working circles around the representatives. She's very educated. They weren't able to really put her feet to the fire the way they wanted to. And I want to say thank you to Lori for being here as well. Easy Mode Champ says the USA vet sitting next to me says it isn't a war until soldiers are on the ground taking over the land. This is a skirmish. It might feel like war to the regime in Iran, but not to the U.S. military. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate all the comments, guys.
About the nature of the investigation and the areas that I thought should be explored. So I appreciated that. I want to see the truth come out. So that was a reassuring way to end a very long, repetitive deposition.
Secretary, you spoke in your opening remarks about how heartbroken you have been for the Epstein survivors as these files have come out. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you have processed and reacted to the fact that the former president, your husband, Bill Clinton, is referencing the Epstein files numerous times, including in some photos featuring women? And how have you been personally preparing for the deposition that is coming tomorrow? And are you 100% confident that there isn't anything that the former president knows about Epstein's crimes?
I am, and I think the chronology of the connection that he had with Epstein ended several years before anything about Epstein's criminal activities came to light, and that he was charged and sadly given a sweetheart deal, which, as I said in my statement, had that not happened, perhaps his predatory behavior could have been stopped earlier.
Can you guys tell us in the audience, why did Epstein get this sweetheart deal that we keep hearing about? Can someone explain that, articulate, why did he get what I call the Andy Griffith deal, where Otis was able to really come into jail at the end of the day and lock himself back in? Why did Epstein get all of that when he had such vicious charges, especially in relation to the weakest among us, the dear children, the young people that allegedly and for the most part were abused? Why was that the case? I want to see who knows that. Lookup says, oh, this woman, she didn't know what fiduciary duty or responsibilities mean. I want to give a shout out to Uncommon Woman for always being here to support the channel too. Thank you so much. You're far too kind. Every comment is duly noted. Thank you very much. All right, so we have an idea of what Hillary Clinton had to say in regards to the matter. Now we're going to take a look at what Bill Clinton had to say. His speech was quite small, but I think he had a chance to really express himself. Let's get to it.
I just finished testifying in front of the House Oversight Committee. I did it for two reasons. First, I love my country, including our Constitution. And America was built on the idea that no person is above the law.
Now, I just want to give you guys some background because I was boots on the ground. Some of the representatives said that Bill was shaking the whole time, and sometimes the questions, just from his age and probably the nerves, as you get older. But they did mention several times of him shaking. But one thing that resonated throughout the entire day when they were giving their briefings is that Bill Clinton answered the questions. And there were certain times when his attorneys were telling him, hey, listen, don't say anything more. Bill Clinton kept speaking. And he also spoke about how important it is that these victims get some sort of justice. And Bill Clinton has also said under many circumstances that Donald Trump should also come and have to answer these questions at a deposition the same way that he and his wife did. He also mentioned, too, how his wife should not have been pulled into this because she did not know Epstein. And I'll tell you, as I was out there filming, a lot of the reporters were saying that Melania Trump should also have to be deposed because she's actually in pictures with Epstein. And so that's it was some individuals, a lot of the anchors and the reporters were very aggressively pointing out how much that this is one-sided and that Donald Trump and Melania should come in and have to face these questions, whether he's the president or not, because these files are so terrible. And many were saying how Donald Trump was mentioned way more than Bill Clinton and his wife, some 38,000 times. So what do you guys think about that? It's very important that we hear your vantage point, especially about this case, which is so astounding in our country that pretty much everybody, everywhere you go, they're talking about the Epstein files, or they want to know what happened, so much so that every time something happens like Nancy Guthrie or the war in Iran, people are saying that these are all distractions from the Epstein files. So tell us what you think. Also, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. We really do appreciate it. One thing to keep in mind, a lot of people have been asking me, do I think that the Clintons' deposition had anything to do with Nancy Guthrie? Did I feel that Donald Trump had something to do with Nancy Guthrie? Let me explain. Some people feel like maybe a Trump supporter was agitated with Savannah and went and pulled this off. So this is what people are asking, okay? Then others are saying, well, did Savannah Guthrie situation where she interviewed Epstein's victims, does that have something to do with Nancy Guthrie going missing? So people are starting to think outside of the box because the authorities, both local and the federal, they're not able to crack the case. And as I told you guys from my personal experience, when I was leaving Tucson, Arizona a couple days ago, I ran into the Homeland Security that were going into Mexico, driving into Mexico because they felt she could have gone beyond the border. So a lot of these questions are being asked, but it's important for us to have these discussions because you never know how this case is going to be solved. Tell us what you think.
Even presidents, especially presidents, and that we should all live under the same set of rules. This kind of democracy requires every person to play their part. And I hope that by being there today, we can bring ourselves just a little further away from the brink and back to being a country where we can disagree civilly and we can search for truth and justice, and that it outweighs the partisan urge to score points and create spectacle. The second reason I was there is that the girls and women whose lives Jeffrey Epstein destroyed deserve not just justice, but healing. They've been waiting too long for both. Though my brief acquaintance with Epstein ended years before his crimes came to light, and though I never witnessed during our limited interactions any indication with what was truly going on, I offered the little I do know in the hopes that it would help prevent anything like this from ever happening again. I also have to say something personal. Republicans made Hillary testify yesterday, and she had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein, nothing. She has no memory of ever even meeting him. She neither traveled with him nor visited any of his properties. So whether 10 people or 10,000 people were subpoenaed, including her, was simply not right. So here's what I told the committee. First, I had no idea of the crimes Epstein was committing, no matter how many photos they show of me.
Do you guys believe Bill Clinton, in the words that he's saying in regards to Epstein, that he knew nothing, he saw nothing? Hello, Robin. How are you? Nice to have you here today. Thank you for continuing to come back and supporting the channel, Robin. I really do adore that. Thank you. Jeff says, people in high places. Yes, indeed. Stella says, enjoy what you're watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and consider becoming a member. We had so many people become members over the last week. I really do appreciate it. It's you're far too kind. Hopefully, we won't let you down. But I will say, on Tuesday, I was one of the first ones to give you guys some inside information. And I felt like I've been very, I don't really add a lot to it, but I just try to help you guys understand what's happening. I'm going to be putting together a very extensive bit by bit breakdown, and also have a body language expert coming on to help us understand the sheriff, because we're going to go through the sheriff like a fine-tooth comb as far as what he's saying, because a lot of times when it comes to Nancy Guthrie, the sheriff is putting out statements in one conference, then the next one he don't want to answer the same question. Like, for instance, he says that there's blood by the front of the door, and then he makes it seem like that's the only place where the blood is concentrated. So we want to stick to what has been said on record, but we're actually putting together all of these details. So I'm going to put in the time, and we're going to do a deep dive at night to try to get an idea of what the facts have been when it comes to that particular case. And I thank you tremendously.
I have two things that at the end of the day matter far more than any interpretation of 20-year-old photos. I know what I saw, and more importantly, what I didn't see. And I know what I did, and more importantly, what I didn't do. I saw nothing and I did nothing wrong.
And by the way, I just want to tell you guys too that some of the representatives, senators there had expressed, and obviously as Democrats, had expressed that that's why it's so important for Donald Trump to lose the big power that he has with the senators and so forth for the midterm election, so that the tables can turn and they can actually pull him in to have him deposed. And the stage is being set for Donald Trump to be impeached. So this gives you an idea where we are. The country is so divided. I don't think we're going to get to a point where we're not divided. It's just a matter of how far is all of this chaos going to go. And not only that, now we're heading into these operations into other countries. We're also having issues with Mexico. What does all of that mean? Even Canada, they were so upset with the United States that they've created a firmer relationship with China. We heard all about it. We covered it on this channel about 2 months ago.
As someone who grew up in a home with domestic violence, not only would I not have flown on his plane if I had any inkling of what he was doing, I would have turned him in myself and led the call for justice for his crimes, not the sweetheart deal that we got. But even with 20/20 hindsight, I saw nothing that ever gave me real pause. We're only here today because Epstein hid it from everyone so well for so long. And by the time it came to light with his 2008 guilty plea, I had long stopped associating with it. When the video of my
Now, I just want to point out, Bill Clinton mentions too how Jeffrey Epstein had this sweetheart deal. It has come out in the media this week where Alex Acosta, who handled Epstein's litigation, right? He was the one that was supposedly presiding over the legal matters with Epstein on his first case out of Florida. On record, he said to a reporter, which he's kind of denying to a certain extent, that basically he was under the interpretation that Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein, was intelligent. So if Epstein was intelligence, and this is the reason why he received that sweetheart deal, but the question is, if he was intelligence, what intelligence was Epstein? And could that explain why so much is happening in regards to him and why there's this mystery around the man Epstein?
testimony today is released, I hope it will motivate everyone to go in front of Congress to say what they know. I hope it will motivate the Justice Department to finally release all the files and to ensure that this never happens again.
Guys, take a moment, hit the like button, share, subscribe, consider becoming a member, turn on your notifications so you know when we go live. Thank you.
The survivors deserve that.
So there you have it. You've heard from Hillary Clinton, her stance on the whole Epstein files. And now we've heard from Bill Clinton. Were you convinced by what they said? Do you feel like these individuals probably should not have been deposed? Or are you happy, you're not happy with the deposition as to their approach to answering the questions? I look forward to going over the depositions here at Watching the World as we try to break it all down. And again, I love to hear from each and every one of you. So definitely put your comments, your expressions in the comments. It's much appreciated. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit as we finish out our news at noon. We do this every day during the week. This weekend, I decided to do it because we've been out at Nancy Guthrie's home for days on end, from morning to sundown, just trying to figure out and also to receive updates so you guys could also see what was happening. Introducing Watching the World to our true crime segment where we're focusing on different cases. And keep in mind, folks, that we're not just going to go and visit the high-ranking cases that have celebrity attached to it. We're also going to cover cases that people who do not have a voice and they need to be heard. And we can serve as an individual that can go to the mountaintop and get more eyes on these cases that are pretty much not in the media as heavy as Nancy Guthrie. And also I want to keep in mind, a lot of individuals out there were saying, hell, oh my goodness, why are you guys here? There's so many missing people in the world. It's time to move on, right? And I found it to be interesting. I think even Savannah Guthrie may have heard the cry, because notice their family gave $500,000 toward a nonprofit that deals with the very thing that they're facing as far as kidnapping and missing persons. So you can kind of assume that all of this is somehow tied together. This morning, JLR, a very good man out there covering the case, he did a nice update on the case that I want to share with you guys. But yesterday, I was watching in. I don't know if you saw the individuals out front doing their little movie or music video. It was kind of like the Twilight Zone, I must say. I couldn't quite figure it out. But it might be a good marketing strategy, because imagine all the people that now looked up their names, have them in the algorithm, will probably follow them that never heard about them. So they probably chose that moment because of that very factor, and it probably worked for them. I will say that. But yesterday, we saw that the police actually left the home. Prior to that, we saw surveillance, cameras, more cameras being installed. And so that sets the stage that the house is being turned back over to the family. And the thing to keep in mind, that usually after that point, if you hang out in front of the house, they'll try to get you for loitering. In fact, when we went out, I was very concerned about the whole legal ramifications about the case and searching, because the sheriff had came out the night before and targeted and said, if you go out searching on private land, you need to have the right permits. And so that sets the stage for you to have a Don Lemon situation where you could potentially be accosted, be detained, or arrested for breaking various rules. So it's very important. Shrewd is the person that can see the calamity and conceal themselves. I think that's a proverb or a psalm. I don't know why that came to mind. But you have to be able to read the room, read the streets, because sometimes if you start to agitate people, or if they feel like you're around too long, that's when they come in with the hammers. So that's why at Watching the World, I'm definitely going to be covering a lot of different cases, but we're going to go through, get in and get out, because the feds are everywhere. And once you're on the feds' radar, it could be in Arizona. Next case is in Virginia, North Carolina, right? You're still dealing with the same feds, and your name is continually flying through. It could be very damaging. So that's the strategy that we hope to implement here as we cover so much, especially here in New York and other places as well, because a lot of these things are happening, and we want to cover the ones that are not getting so much traffic, right? That's why we're on the road to the White House. That's why I'm really promoting that hard, because we want to make a difference, right? We want to be logical and make good, wise choices. But not only that, we don't want to go around intentionally rubbing people the wrong way just for a few clicks and views or what have you. We really want to make a difference, and that's why I appreciate we have amazing people coming together. And we're not just trying to glorify ourselves sitting on the mountain telling everybody who ate the cabbage, right? We're not trying, this is not about one person. All of us are restricted in our lives to a certain amount of time, but this life goes on, and that's why it's important to do works that can go on far after we have transitioned out of here, right? That's just how life goes. So let's take a moment now and check out what JLR had to say this morning in regards to boots on the ground still there at Nancy Guthrie's home.
JLR investigates day 28. Where is Nancy Guthrie? Back out in front of Nancy Guthrie's home, but guess what, folks? Everybody left. There's only like one vehicle left. News Nation. The entire block is empty. Some people walking their dogs. Looks like people have moved on from this case or left because the FBI and authorities gave the property, the home here, Nancy Guthrie's home, back.
I want to take a moment. If you look at the screen, Jeff says, truth as defined by who? I think very importantly, truth can be very subjective because the truth here may not be the same truth in Iran. And obviously that's why there's a major conflict. But I think a lot of this truth boils down to yourself and understanding what's right and what's wrong. So that's my answer for your question. Thank you.
To the family. I don't know if I'm going to be live streaming out here at an empty house, but we're definitely going to be covering this case. But let me spin the camera around to show you what it looks like being quiet. More or less everyone left. I mean, people are driving by a little bit, but there's not the crazy activity that had been happening for weeks. They had this entire block filled with media cones and all types of tents and equipment. There's some few stuff left. So let me spin the camera around. Yeah, everyone left. They have this out here.
All right, guys. Grumpy says, oh my goodness, Slick Willie is so full of beans. He has adult relation scandals all the way back from when he was a governor. I don't believe a word coming out of his mouth. So not a big fan of Bill Clinton. Maybe you don't feel that he's so truthful. Thank you for expressing yourself.
No parking. You can't park out here. Just parked out here just for a second to do my report. No parking. No parking. All this was full with media as we came each morning. Couldn't even park on this.
Yes, Deb says, do not believe him. She's not a firm believer in him at all. Thank you.
Street. Nothing. Then you have Nancy Guthrie's home, right? You had Pima County deputies guarding the property for weeks. They're no longer here. Got signs that were put up the other day, no trespassing. The family or someone affiliated with the family, put up a security monitor system.
Now, let me tell you this. The family put this up. I want to give you guys a little inside information. I walked the entire neighborhood, and Nancy Guthrie's home is one of the few that did not have any type of sign in the yard like you see here. Could that have been the reason why? Now, it's not reported heavily in the media, but look it up. In fact, when I do the deep dive, we're going to go through it. But a neighbor came forward. She actually gave her name. And she said about 2 weeks before Nancy Guthrie went missing, you can look this up, right? Go to Google once the show is over, right? She said there was a male, a young male, which I kind of felt like the individual in the video was a young male, said he had on a cap and he had pulled it down pretty much down to his eyes, so you can't determine his face level, and that he was walking the neighborhood about 2 weeks earlier. And she specifically said in the report he wasn't out exercising. She felt it was strange. She mentioned it to her husband, but they did not call the police because at that time, they later did, obviously, after Nancy went missing. But could that have been in some way connected to this case? Also, we keep hearing about January the 11th. Remember, the officers, you have to put the pieces of the puzzle together. But the feds put out that on January the 11th, they wanted video. We also heard a report that on Google, someone was searching her address on January the 11th. We also heard a rumor, boots on the ground, that on January the 11th, along with this person, because we get the steel frame, and a lot of people are saying that steel frame, because what they did was when they put out the video, they put out that steel frame. We broke that down yesterday. But in the steel frame, you could see where the individual had on different shoes. It's very clear, very distinct. And I was saying that from the beginning, but a lot of people was like, what are you talking about? Well, eventually it came out in the media. But a rumor attached to that steel frame, and that this person did a dry run, perhaps on January the 11th. We don't know for sure. But a rumor says that that's when they broke that floodlight at the back of her home. Okay, so all of that is happening as some sort of preparation for the real event that happened on February the 1st. And I also told you guys that as I was leaving Tucson, Arizona, the Homeland Security individual insinuated that somehow they felt that the individual responsible for taking Nancy had inside information. What does that mean? You see what I'm saying? What is the inside information? What does that imply? Well, we don't know, but we gather so much information, and in time, many of these ideas and concerns and also facts, they tend to come together, and the fake ones tend to fall off. But all of the information seems to jive in one way or the other. Let's get back to it.
Simply Safe. Appears they also have cameras on their house that someone went up there the last few days with a ladder to put up. We heard.
And again, her yard was bare. There was no sign. Typically, you'll see a sign saying ADP, Simply Safe, something there to try to ward off individuals. When you go to the house, to her left, they have a sign in the yard. You go to the right around the corner, they have a sign in the yard. Everywhere you go, except Nancy's home is one of the few that did not have any type of coverage, and it probably made it appear naked and wide open for this type of activity, right? Could that be an essential ingredient in this particular case?
The security be tested.
Robin says the sheriff botched the whole case up. I must say, I was able to speak to a lot of the sheriff's department members out there, and they follow Watching the World. I had a great time. I felt like they were very, very welcoming for an outsider. But when it comes to the sheriff, I will say, it's like the old Keith Sweat song, something, something, something just ain't right. I can't put my hands on it. I just can't figure it out.
We still have a tent out here. This is our tent. And News Nation is still out here with their tent. That's it. Let's go down the house a little bit so you can see.
News Nation is still out there. I was out there with Brian Enton. He was a very welcoming, nice guy. But Lookup says Savannah went to Mark Kelly first. Savannah said she didn't want the FBI involved, and she told that to the sheriff. So a lot of people were questioning, why did she go to Mark Kelly first, even before reaching out to the authorities? Now, this is a rumor, but if it is the case, you have to add that to the puzzles as you try to get the entire picture, right?
See what it looks like without the media circus. I don't know how long they're going to stay. And I don't know how long we're going to stay out here. This is what the home looks like outside Nancy Guthrie's home. And no Pima County deputies outside here.
Claire makes a good point. Claire says, I don't care what Hillary and Bill Clinton has to say. They're not in office. I want Trump and Melania deposed. Thank you, Claire. Look forward to having you on the channel. Thank you.
No one is at the home right now. It is completely empty. Someone brought a cross here the other day. You have ribbons, yellow. Here is the makeshift memorial at the house. All the signs for Nancy. Lots of signs. People have been placing these down at the home for weeks. This was like the first sign up.
Guys, Jeff says the sheriff is in over his head. Do you feel the same way? What do you think?
This is what we got. YouTube family, send prayers of faith, hope, love for Nancy Guthrie. All right, so what now, folks? What now? Is this case going to go cold? Is it because of the situation in the U.S. with Iran? Maybe the media and the networks are going to be focusing on that. For us, I don't feel like it's necessary at this point to do a live streams like we've been doing out here, seeing the activity, because there's really no activity and I don't really want to stare at a house. I'm going to continue to stay with this case, though. I'm going to continue to stay in Tucson for the time being. We have plans to go up to Mount Lemmon. At one point, a group of us YouTubers, we have...
Okay, guys, Robin says love will always conquer hate. Yes, indeed. Light drives out darkness.
Starlink. we could take you all the way up and show you what it looks like, because it's a possible place up here where Nancy Guthrie could have been, taken to, buried, or thrown over into a canyon. Not to be graphic, but it seems like this situation is now a recovery instead of a search and rescue. And then you have all this desert terrain, Saguaro National Park just to the west. There's another one to the east, and then just desert-like terrain. She could be out here somewhere. This is the neighborhood. It is definitely quiet. So I'll stay with this case. JLR Investigates continue to give you the updates of what's going on. No activity, no law enforcement activities. No one got raided on Friday night. So we will continue to see. Sub to the channel, like, hit the notification button. Where is Nancy Guthrie? I am JLR Investigates. We will talk soon. Stay tuned.
All right, so definitely give some support to JLR. He's quite the reporter, quite the independent investigator. He's like a Sherlock Holmes in his own way, which I think he's entitled to that. It's great to have individuals who are concerned to make a difference in the world and trying to shed light on dark places that few people may not even have heard about had it not been for individuals such as him. Lori says, what would a third impeachment prove against Donald J. Trump? He's been impeached twice already, okay, and was reelected. I don't think it's going to do much of a good, because obviously there's a lot of people in the country that support Donald Trump to the highest power. But it doesn't mean that if things go left in the midterm elections, which it could rightly happen, that they won't try to impeach him. And also, who knows what else could happen. Repeatedly, individuals have tried to take attempts on his life, and you have to wonder, why is that the case? He's probably the most recent president that we've ever seen to take on such attempts, so many attempts on his life. Okay, Jeff says, people love Nancy. I think it's quite obvious that many people do love and appreciate her, would like to see her come home. And I think for the most part, a lot of us would like to see many individuals going through this type of situation go home. Oh my goodness, Bass Girl 777, we're so unified, has become a member. And thank you so much for doing that. We look forward to, I always try to give personal touch and information to members. And so this week I reported on certain things fresh out the gate, because I imagine for a person to become a member, they must really be concerned or in agreement with watching the world and what we're trying to do here. So thank you so much. Ruby says, yes, very interesting. Okay, thank you very much. Lisa Page is here. Lisa, thank you for being a great moderator, a great member. And she says the photo, thank you for that. Lori says, good grief, that was disturbing. Yes, indeed. Disturbing to say the least. Robin says, yesterday was creepy with those two. Yeah, I imagine, though, they're probably just trying to get attention. You know, attention is the new currency of the world. People would rather have attention than to have money. And I think you understand that. Everybody's seeking that golden attention. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at a different angle here from Nancy Guthrie as we conclude with our final video today. For our news at noon, we're hitting the hour mark. Typically during the week, I try to stay within the hour, because I realize for those that are on Eastern Standard Time, you're trying to perhaps stick to your lunch hour. But at any rate, we will be doing some deep dives at night. I think you're going to find it very intriguing, because a lot of the information we're going to put together, when you can align it, then you start to see how logical the situation is. But anyway, let's keep moving to take another look here with Nancy Guthrie.
It's been 26 days now. Someone knows something.
Please keep praying without ceasing.
As Savannah remains in Tucson, here is the latest. The FBI was back at her mother's house doing a final sweep for evidence. The home is expected to be turned back over to the family, and the FBI will relocate its command post to Phoenix.
We are begging you to please come forward now.
As for that $1 million reward, It's generated more than 1,500 new tips. But behind the scenes in New York, a source tells ET Savannah's husband, Mike Feldman, had an emotional meeting with her Today Show colleagues.
All right. Lookup says, thank you, Sir Mel, for having the dignity and honor of leaving that property. Well, I felt like I had did what I came to do. It was time to go, but that doesn't mean I'm not still covering the case. As you can see here, it's very important that I make that known, or any other case that needs some lights spread on it. I would definitely be very attentive to go out and check out, to give any type of contribution that's needed to cover the case. So thank you guys. Thank you to everybody that hits the like button, share, and subscribe to the channel, and for those that turned on their notifications so that when we go live they can be readily alerted, because the information in many cases is new. We typically cover the news and we break out different topics that are happening that have a great trending, as it happens like in the case of this war or this regime change in Iran, to be able to talk about these type of matters that everybody wants to know what's happening, so that they can navigate through life knowing what's happening in the world. Okay, Jeff says, keep off of private property. That's so important. Thank you very much for that. Let's get back to it with Nancy Guthrie.
About 2 weeks ago, thanking them for the outpouring of support. We've also learned Hoda Kotb will fill in tomorrow and likely longer, as producers continue to make that decision on a week-to-week basis.
Please be the light in the dark.
Okay, so she wants someone to be the light in the dark. It's very important. AI says Goofy Don Lemon did that to himself. He was rioting in a church. Big difference. Okay. One of the things that they tell you when you pick up your press pass is that you cannot go into private places, and namely, you cannot go inside of churches. That's one of the things that was discussed. So that's something to keep in mind. But people do things for whatever reason they find necessary. But we will be covering the case to see how he fares in regards to that. I know a lot of people often bring up Don Lemon. We will cover that as well. Let's get through some of the comments before we end today. Jeff says, we support finding Nancy. A lot of people have that same sentiment. Thank you, Jeff, for your continued support. Lisa says, we're doing what we can when we can. That's very important. Every little bit goes a long way. All right. Some people are saying something happened that was disrespectful. I missed that. So if you could put it in the comments, just elaborate. I'll catch up with it in a minute when I get to that level in the comments. Lookup says, how this man caught my eye because he dresses and represents my America, our America. Thank you very much, Lookup. I duly noted. Thank you so much. Okay, Robin says, I watched him this morning, potentially talking about JLR. Okay, thank you. The deep fake says, read the room, read the streets, keep feet and boots on the ground. Don't get all turned around. This chat is the best. All right, thank you. You almost sounded like you were writing some extensive poetry. Thank you. I like the way that flowed. Lookup says, this man, Mr. Mel, is one classy American. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for that. Robin says they released Nancy's car, but not Annie's and Tommaso's car. Go figure. Well, I think that's a key ingredient to this. And, we don't have any inside information. The sheriff says that the family members were not involved, right? So we have to factor that in. But sometimes when you look at the probabilities, they often say that when people go missing or certain things happen, they always look at the last person that saw the individual before they lost their lives or went missing. Sorry, guys. And I think that in the case of Nancy Guthrie, it says that the family members had dropped her off, and then they came back and said It was the son-in-law. And then finally they came back with the sheriff. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. The sheriff came forward and basically said that he couldn't specify if it was the family or just the son-in-law. Guys, give me 1 second. I'll be back on. So I left the cold and I went to the hot place, and then I came back to the cold, and then I caught a cold. Go figure, right? So thank you for bearing with me with that. But it's a process, and that's what happens when you're traveling all over the place. So here we go. But thank you, guys. Lookup says, keep your eyes to the horizon, ears to the ground, and situational awareness. Thank you very much. Okay, Bass Girl, thank you for all you do. Thanks for becoming a member as well. The deepfake says, yep, saw it first thing. Ain't no one there but Brian Enton and JLR. And I think Brian is proving a point about who he thinks should be the best media person, but JLR wins. Okay, all right. Thank you for your comment as well. We're trying to get through as many of them as we can. Lookup says, what did Anonymous say on 60 Minutes? They are the writers, the producers, and the main actors, and they control the stage. Okay, all right. I don't understand fully what happened there, but thank you for that comment. Thank you for your many comments. Robin says, fax mail. Okay, thank you. Stella says, like, share, and subscribe, and turn on your notifications to be notified for upcoming shows. Thank you very much for that. Jeff says 2 weeks before. You're right, Jeff. 2 weeks before, there was a young man walking around the neighborhood during the day. So what does that mean? And another issue that I found, and I'll cover it when I do the deep dive, is that whenever you go, because I was there for over a week, whenever you drive around, there's cameras. There's a misconception, right? Let me explain. One thing they said is that all the houses are so far from the road that at nighttime you can't make the cars out, right? You can barely see the lights. But you guys saw the video that just came out 2 days ago. You can make out the car. And I found that to be the case throughout of Tucson, Arizona. A lot of the houses are positioned right by the road, and people have their cameras pointing toward the road. Also, there was about 5 different places, easements, that I counted, and most of them lead to a big intersection with a lot of cameras. They have a extensive camera system, but when you listen to the reports, you get a different report. And they say that the local, I guess, council voted that they did not want to have all this aggressive and AI camera systems because people want their privacy. So being boots on the ground, I was able to see for myself and come to the determination that there's so many cameras there, but we still do not have an official description of a vehicle from the law enforcement. Here's the other thing I want to explain to you guys, right? If the authorities haven't put out any type of vehicle, but they did put out the video of the front door and a steel frame allegedly from January the 11th, then that leads me to believe that they have more video going back quite further than what they're releasing. That also tells me there's a good chance that before the person walks into the frame, that they have video. Is there any headlights that approach her home? Can they make out where the car could have potentially parked if there was a car? Do they believe the person walked in from the local neighborhood? You would think that some of this information would have been put out, but they haven't put it out. But if someone drove up, would they have driven all the way to her house with no headlights? Her street is pretty straight, so even if they turned the bend, I think on the camera you would detect some sort of lighting coming into the scene shortly before the person walks into the frame. The other question is why we don't have vehicles leaving, because typically here in New York, like in the case of Luigi Mangione, once they detected the time frame of the shot, they were able to put together the entire scene of when Luigi came into New York all the way until he left through the Greyhound system. So in this particular case, we don't even have a headlight officially through the sheriff's office or through the FBI. So why is that the case? These are questions that we all have. And I wonder why they're not just giving us a clue, or does it appear the person just walked in and took her? One of the things that we heard is that her cane was left behind. One of the neighbors says that she could walk, but she would use her cane to walk to the mailbox. So if her cane is left behind, what does that mean? If you went to take your grandmother to the grocery store, you would definitely have her bring, and obviously this is not someone taking their grandmother to the grocery store, but the cane would assist if you have the person walking to a vehicle. And the other thing that I've said on this channel, from being boots on the ground, she had a round driveway, right? It loops, and they have those stones. And those stones are so tight that every time the federal agents would come in and switch out, you would hear such loud stones churning as they drove onto the driveway. So at nighttime, that's going to stand out like a sore thumb. Even when we were walking on the gravels by the highway, as far as we could go, you could just hear yourself walking, or you could hear other individuals. There were several times when people would drive in to deliver flowers, and they would pull into the driveway. The sheriff would jump out of the vehicle and say, "Oh, wait right there, buddy. Back out. Get out of, you can't pull in here." And they wasn't playing games. They were really scolding the flower delivery guy. Then there's another time some guy was trying to deliver some DoorDash. He pulled into the driveway. But even if you would turn with your back to the house, you would just hear people pull into that loud driveway. So that leads us to believe that whoever did this, if they had a vehicle, more than likely parked by the road. Okay, so these are just some ideas from being boots on the ground, which I would have never known had I not went there for myself and became acquainted with the scene and some of the surrounding area to and fro the property. So that's something to keep in mind too. The person more than likely, if they drove there, probably stayed parked on the road, right? Also, while standing out there during the day, there's a neighbor, their house is positioned higher, as though it's going up the hill, because it's the foothills. Everything is hilly. You could hear dogs just barking, barking, barking throughout the day at certain times. So what does that mean? Well, even at night times, dogs can decipher and bark about things that are happening outside. So was there any dogs barking that night? Are these dogs inside the house? Some people keep their dogs outside. So a lot to give you an idea of what's happening. Directly across from her front door, you have the loop driveway. But if you were just to walk straight through the different bushes she has in her yard, you would walk straight into another road that leads right up the hill. And if you go back and look at my lives or JLR, you'll see that road going up the hill. Could that have been an access point? Was the person local, right? These are all questions that we have. A lot of people wondered, could she still be somewhere hidden in the property somewhere? These are just things that were floating around, boots on the ground. I'm just giving you an idea. So let's get back to the comments here. I'm running out of steam with this newly found cold that I have from traveling from the hot to the cold. Keep in mind, folks, even while I was in Tucson, Arizona, in the morning it would be freezing to me, right? And I'm from New York. And then by noon, I'm burning up. It's like felt like it's like 70 degrees. The sun is like sitting in your pocket almost, right? So hot. Then by 6 p.m. it's back cold again. So I knew I would probably have some irritants, have a cold or something. But lo and behold, while I was there, we received here in New York 2 feet of snow. And so as I was traveling back, and the time of day I left, it was kind of chilly. But when I landed in New York, it was freezing cold with nothing but snow on the ground. And we have more snow coming this week. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right. But through it all, we get through it just to try to make sense or to go out and help. I feel like it was a good thing for me to go out and cover this case. I was interviewed by the local channel, and I think that Channel 4, and I was able to explain to them how valuable it is to have streamers, independent media, right? Because I'm going to tell you right now, when we go to the courthouse, we're not defined by are you a YouTuber or are you from the big MSM media? No, they says show us your credentials, your press pass, right? So a lot of times we want to put everybody in a box, give everybody a label, but as long as we are legitimate and we do things properly. Another thing that I think helped set the pace while I was there in Tucson, Arizona, a lot of the mainstream media, I'm sorry guys, I just need a break, I'm sorry. Okay, water break. Okay, so here's the thing. The mainstream media who felt like they had every right to be there, guess what? Some of them were dressed kind of bummy, you know, raggedy sneakers on at a crime scene. So I think by myself approaching, they definitely couldn't take shots at what I was wearing, right? I approached the situation very professional, and I didn't lose my cool even when people were getting out of pocket. I'm not a small guy, so you can't beat me. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's like the old cartoon. If you can't beat them, you got to join them. And so I think that helps when it comes, and I say all that lightly. This is just a little dry humor, so don't ruffle your feathers. But approaching the scenario professionally, even when I covered the Clintons yesterday, well, certain guys, they get a little ruffled, you know? Their feathers get ruffled when they see a streamer there, but I pull up in a dignified manner, minding my business, doing my thing. I'm just doing my dance, right? And then they see I have a great support system and people are actually watching. A lot of them, if I step away and I still watch from afar, just on my way back or something, they look into my phone to try to see how many people are watching. This is the things that happen. So I'm just giving you guys a inside idea of how these things go down. Lori says, still frame guy is a different guy. Okay, I've heard that before too. Some people say that. Lisa says, always thought the steel frame guy wasn't the same time or night. I'm with you on that, Lisa. Great detective work. Different shoes on. You can definitely go check that out. Jeff says she must have known about light and said it to the family. Okay, thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you for that. Lisa says, yes, maybe different guy in steel frame. Okay, thank you. Lori says, Lisa, I don't think it was the same night. Okay, you guys are having quite the discussion. Stella says, like, share, and subscribe, and turn on your notifications to be notified for upcoming shows. Okay, Robin says, they put cameras up a bit too late. Yes, indeed. Wow, what a hard-hitting comment, Robin. Thank you. Lookup says, I don't trust any of this. It's just like COVID. You can't say the C word on YouTube for some reason. I don't know why, but I think I caught myself. That's a whole nother conversation as to why you can't say that. And guys, could you take a moment? We have 380 people here. Could you hit the like button, share, and subscribe? Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Robin says, great jam, by the way, Mr. Mel. All right. Glad to do it. I'm putting together a great video for that jam, so thank you very much. Okay, let's see here. Jeff says, look like a duck, walks like a duck. It's a duck. All right, that's a good way of looking at it. Lori says, why would she not want FBI involved? Doesn't she want her mom found? That's a good question. I wonder, is it more of her or the local sheriff? So that would be my question. Jeff says, FBI too late. Okay, thank you. Lookup says there's a real lack of oversight in Arizona. I know of felons who are able to buy a pow, we'll say it, at a garage sale. Okay. And keep in mind, guys, there was the day before Nancy Guthrie went missing. They haven't really said this publicly, but there was a weapons show 2 days before that, back to back. So keep that in mind. You know how at the fairgrounds they have these shows and where they're actually selling different things. So that was there. Could that have some implication in this particular case? We don't know. But keep that in mind, folks. Robin says, I believe the sheriff doesn't know what he is doing. Okay. All right. Lori says, yes, I don't think their department has the capabilities for this investigation. But the thing is, they had the FBI. So, and believe you me, the FBI was working in regards to this case. Although I was there for over a week and I never really saw the FBI. So I don't know what that means. I did see Homeland Security. So there's some reason they sent Homeland Security in. Okay. Jeff says not cold. Okay. Where is that at, Jeff? Tell us about it. Okay. Jeff says may take some time. Okay. Great. This could be recovery. All right. Lori says, oh my, I hate to think what the poor elderly lady went through. Oh my, it's hard to imagine. Must be hard on the family to think about it. Stella says, like, share, and subscribe, and turn on your notifications to be notified for upcoming shows. Okay. Lookup says, Mel is very kind. Okay, thank you. Kimberly says, and guys, I need a moment. I'm sorry. Okay. Kimberly says, Dad's gone live, is going home tomorrow, and soon everyone else will too, and we will never know what happens. But they're headed to Mount Lemon. Prayers for them and for their safety. Okay, thank you for that. Great insight. Great insight. And let's see here. Oh, Deb Mueller became a member. Thank you, Deb. It's nice to have you as a member. I look forward to working with you, especially as we try to work on these cases. Also, if any of you guys would like to, especially members would like to be on the show, let me know. Send me an email about your interest, and I'm going to have some of you guys give me some expressions for 1 or 2 minutes that I will put into the produced shows. So look out for it. I have a nice produced show coming today. Thank you very much. But if you're interested, let me know. Let's see here. Lookup says, when you vote, write your own name in. I don't need a leader. I lead myself. Okay. All right. You're welcome, Bass Girl. You're welcome, Jeff. Okay. 95 says, Nancy has become all of our mother and grandmother. I can feel that. I can feel that. Thank you. Robin says it's only 11:04 a.m. here in Arizona. Definitely 2 hours behind us with mountain time. Thank you for that. Thank you for that inside information. Jeff says, press the like button, guys. Hit the like button, share, subscribe. Thank you. And Kimberly says it's 106 in Cleveland, Ohio. Okay, so you guys are right with us here. Same time. Robin says, you are appreciated, Mr. Mel. Thank you, thank you. Stella says, enjoy your day and make it a wonderful one, everyone. Okay, make it great. Lori says, the photo shoot people. Okay, yeah. I think that was all about attention. What a great way to get marketing, because everybody's mentioning it on their respective channels, and now everybody knows your name, and it's all about attention, I believe. I didn't see the garb associated with detectives, but I could be wrong. Lori says, are these disrespectful comments? Okay, are there disrespectful comments? Okay. Okay, very good. The deep fake says, no disrespectful comments. They were referring to the people. JLR caught on live stream yesterday. It was a scene. Okay, all right. We're almost getting down to the bottom here. Okay, Q says, you're awesome, Mel. Keep up the good work. Nice to have you. Thank you for subscribing. Okay, Bass Girl says, thank you, sir, for your investigative reporting and non-biased reporting. God bless you, sir. Everyone have a blessed day. Nice to have you here. Thank you. Okay, Robin, what does Robin say? She says, take care of yourself, Mr. Mel. Thank you. Thank you from Robin. Lisa says that the sheriff has an ego. Okay, all right, has an ego. Okay. Kimberly said a disgusting person was doing a photo shoot at Nancy's driveway and buy her flowers. That is so disrespectful. Who does that when someone's mother is missing? Someone seeking attention, I would say. That's what I would say. That's what the common sense would tell me. Lisa says sheriff is a bad character. Okay. Lori says, okay, you're talking to deep fake. Okay, the deep fake says you can't see the lights but Savannah says be a light in the dark. Wusa. Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you. Kimberly says, and she was trying to start a true crime channel. Please no one subscribe to her. She disrespected our Nancy, our beloved Nancy. Okay, is that the person from yesterday? Robin says, Kimberly agreed. It was more of how they were dressed that made it disrespectful. I was like, what the helly? What the helly? Okay. Deepfake says, at least got footage. They can't show us for sure. They sure do got more. That's right, Mel. Okay. Yeah, they do have more footage. Believe that. You can bet your bottom dollar, right? Okay, Jeff says we need clothing description and a car. And they don't even have the clothing description from Nancy Guthrie. That's on record. When you listen to the 911 call or the dispatch, there's no description of what she was last seen wearing. Robin says, very suspicious. Okay, thank you very much. Lori says, Nancy was carried or dragged out. She didn't walk out. Okay. Makes sense based on the information shared. Lisa says, I have no clue if the vehicle was involved. Nothing makes sense. All right. Kimberly says, my hubby says it's like, ha ha, we did it, and you can't prove it kind of a thing. We're seeing it. We don't see it often, but we're starting to see that. It's a scary situation. But is this one of many acts that will occur? This is the part we don't know. Is this a trend on the way? We have to wonder. Is it professional, or was it someone that just was an opportunist, right? If the feds can't crack the case, it sounds awfully professional to me. Lori says the quiet of the night is very noisy. Okay. Jeff says gravel is the clue. Okay, I think so. Robin says, do you think maybe, and I'm just speculating, it has something to do with Nancy's living trust? Could be. We don't know. I'm not too familiar with her trust, but that's a great question. Kimberly says the girl supposedly knows the girl Kayla. Okay, I heard that. Heard something about that. The deep fake says, have a great day, everyone. I'm headed to get brunch. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Robin says, have a great day, deep fake. Okay. Lori says, Lisa, there's almost has to be a vehicle. They didn't carry a 150-pound lady very far. If no vehicle, she would be close to home. I don't know what to think, really. Great point. But no vehicle is awfully weird, right? Jeff said they knew the roads. Okay, we could definitely come to that conclusion. It's really tough to navigate out of there and in there too. Robin says that's Arizona weather. Yes, indeed. Where I'm from, they call it pneumonia weather. Okay, Saban says hello and shout out to you. Nice to have you here, and hopefully we'll see more of you. Okay, let's see. Lori says, Kimberly, that's right. I forgot about that. Okay, not sure. All right. Stella says, yep, that's Arizona weather until spring and summer. Then it's probably so hot you can't even think straight. Okay, Robin says, right, Stella, it gets quite hot in Arizona around the end of May, beginning of June. It also was getting very hot at noon, and I was toasted out there. Okay, Lisa says she loves streamers. That's awesome. Kimberly says she is closer than we think, I believe. I don't think they went far, and if she's passed before leaving that house, they ditched her close, because who's going to drive so far with a deceased person? Good point. Good point. Lori says pineapple juice is good for coughs. Okay. Thank you for that tip. Thank you. Saban says you were nice and very professional in Arizona. Thank you. Kimberly says, in fear of getting caught, God proved me wrong because I pray she is still with us. Possibly. Saban says, first time here, found you in Arizona. Thank you so much. Lisa says, I agree. Mel's approach is respectful and calm and professional. It's very important. Thank you. Thank you. People always look for fault, so we don't want to give them undue fault, right? Robin says, yes, Mr. Mel, you dressed to impress. Thank you very much. Lisa says, media is jealous of streamers. We could come to that conclusion. All right. Thank you, Jeff, for all the love. Kimberly says, okay, everyone, have a good day. Time, take care of my mama. Okay, very good. Tell your mother we said hi at Watching the World. Saban says, absolutely. Okay, it looks like we're boiling it all down. Bass Girl says, Mel, the moment you arrive, I was hooked. You can see yourself on JLR, and you are walking around and actually investigating. I appreciate your professionalism. If I could, I would turn that into some sort of framed picture. Your words are far too kind. I appreciate that. Okay. And Debbie became a new member. It's so great. Debbie, go back and check out the video I did earlier in the week where I broke down how the Homeland Security was at Tucson, Arizona when I was leaving, and they made 2 points. Number one, they felt like Nancy Guthrie had gone across the border. Okay? And that led me to believe that first ransom letter, along with other facts, could have well been true. Okay? The other thing that the person said is that they felt like the individual who did this potentially had inside information. So what does that mean? They said in Rome, all roads lead to Rome. What does that mean? When you crack the case, that's when you'll find out the mastermind behind all of this, right? So we have to reserve that right to have a waiting attitude to find out who really did this, right? Okay, all right. We have a few more comments. Saban says, and today, typically I don't do all the comments as much as I'm doing today, but today is Saturday, so what the helly? Saban says, not to step on toes. I think the sheriff does want her found. I came to that conclusion when Savannah stated she wanted to offer her reward in the beginning, but Nanos said no. Nanos, no, that's kind of catchy, right? The no nanos. Nanos, no. You could probably turn that into a good song. All right, Beach Girl says, Alabama in the house. All right. I would love to go to Alabama. Sweet home Alabama, right? I'm coming home to you. Thank you very much. Saban says to Lori, you're welcoming me and saying hello. Shows the kindness, respect, and professionalism of Mel. All right, thank you. A lot of good supporters in the chat. Beach Girl says, I heard the son-in-law was on the account and there was money missing and she was changing it, but I don't know if it's true or not. A lot of that stuff float around. We put that in the question box section, but we really can't stand on it until we hear it from a viable source. Okay. All right. A lot of people like to see that Alabama's in the house. Very good. We have a lot of great people here. All right. Lisa says, I agree. Mel's chat is warm and welcoming. Yes, we have the greatest people in the world here at Watching the World in the comments section. Okay. We want to believe that to the fullest, right? We stand on that. Believe me. Beach Girl says, now you're a professional out in Arizona. Thank you very much. All right. We have Sharon here. Thank you, Sharon, for being here. Okay. Beach Girl says, you are very professional out there in Arizona. Okay. Thank you. Oh, okay. This is different. It says it was something fishy yesterday with those people out there dressed in all black and that girl doing modeling. It just didn't seem right. Okay. Thank you for your expression. AI says all eyes on TMF, TYD, UBT. These are all stocks. If you guys want to go check it out, you can do your research on those stock picks. Okay. Thank you very much for that. All right. Let's see here. Beach Girl says, I feel like they put her in the water, but I hope they could find her. My heart hurts for her, Savannah. I never seen any cry or anything. Okay. Great point. I would have loved to have heard from Annie and Tomato, but we haven't heard from them yet. It would be nice to hear from them one day. Beach Girl says, where are you going to move to? So glad that you have your parents. Mine are deceased and I miss them every day. Okay, not sure exactly. All right. Okay, so we're wrapping it up, folks. Jeff says the trust is immediate transfer, so then who is the trustee? Okay, that's a good question. Who was the trustee? Okay, Beach Girl says she loves the chat. And let's see here. Okay, says could lead to anything. Could lead to anything, not sure. Okay, Beach Girl says, Mel, where will you be on Monday? On Monday, I will be having news at noon, but I will be in court for the Alexander brothers on Monday in New York City. If everything is calm and cool, because we know that New York is under high alert because of what's happening in regards to this procedure, war, whatever you want to call it, that's happening over in Iran. Robin Castro, she says, I agree with the statement, Mr. Mel. I believe if they want to clear their name, they need to speak out. And that's what we learned from the Clintons. Even though they were facing a lot of heat, at least they came forward to tell everybody what they thought and what their concerns were, to try to speak up for themselves, which is wise in many cases, right? In many cases, it's very important to speak up for yourself, because in many cases, there may not be anyone to speak up for you. Thank you guys for tuning in to the channel today. We covered our news at noon that we cover each day from Monday to Friday. So feel free to give your information, to give your comments. Always feel free to shoot me an email if you have a question or concerns. And if you're interested in coming on the show and expressing yourself about a hot topic or something major, let me know. I'm definitely looking for people. Starting next week, I'll have call-in sessions at least once or twice a week. You'll be able to call in and we can have a discussion about something that's puzzling or something that we're covering that day with the news. Or if you'd like to share your thoughts in regards to Nancy Guthrie or these other cases that we cover. Saban says, thank you, Mel. Mods in chat. Yes, the mods do such a great job, I must say. Lisa says, I will be watching closing arguments in Colin Gray murder trial live Monday. Okay. I'll check that out too. Robin says, awesome stream, Mr. Mel. Enjoy your day. Good people, one love. Right. Shout out to you, Stella. Have a great day. Lori says, thank you so much, Mel. Always a pleasure to be part of your show and the chat room. Have a super day and get well. Guys, I have some reaction videos coming out today. So I'd like to ask if you guys, when you see those videos, make sure you check it out. There'll be some reaction videos that I think you would appreciate. That's right into that whole true crime category that we all like to follow so closely. And thank you so much for all you guys do, because we couldn't sit in the seat and do this if you guys were not tuning in. And we're on the road to the White House so that we can get more attention and also make a real difference, right? This is not all about one person. This is about many of us, and most of us have the same intentions in trying to elevate life for ourselves and for other people who are less fortunate, who go through some dark situations. Just like Savannah Guthrie says, shining a little light in some very dark places, folks. Beach Girl says, hope everyone has a great weekend. All right. Okay. And Lisa says, goodbye, Mel and chat. All right. What a great way to end the show. Lori says, have a super day, mods and chat. All right. In conclusion, I would say we live a life where we deal with so much uncertainty, especially when it comes to this whole thing that's happening with Iran. Who would think that we'd wake up today facing a potential war? And believe it or not, a lot of us have individuals throughout the world in the military, and you wonder what could happen to them. We have relatives who live all over too. And so everybody's concerned, but we will definitely keep you posted about what's happening here on Watching the World when it comes to this event. We will do morning briefings while we're going through the situation, along with our news at noon. Jeff continues to say, pray for Nancy. Beach Girl says, can we do a moment of silence for Nancy? Okay, thank you. Robin says, that's a scary situation with Iran. Okay, so we'll take a moment to have a moment of silence for Nancy. And if you'd like to, put some hearts or some globes in the chat for our dear Nancy. All right. So hopefully we can hear some great news that Nancy is brought back home to her comfort zone. And it's nice to see that she has so much support. Lisa says, yes, scary president. Okay. All right. Look at all the hearts that we have in the chat for Nancy. You guys are so amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching the world. We will be back on to do a deep dive in regards to this case, looking at all the facts. Tomorrow at 7 p.m., we will have our weekly legal review with criminal defense attorney Calvin Johnson. So look forward to that. I will have a lot of legal questions for him. If you have any questions you would like to have me ask him, you could email me. And this week, a lot of people did contribute toward the channel. That's awfully kind of you guys. But the best contribution you can make is liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel and turning on your notifications. We're trying to build awareness and get our numbers up because people respect numbers. And we can get into doors that are often closed. And so that's what the intention is. But thank you so much. You guys are far too kind. All the comments, I'm so amazed by it, and I really do appreciate it. And we have great people here like Stella paving the way, always here to support the channel and keep us together, especially in the chat, because we do get people coming in saying things that are sort of weird sometimes. Also, I would like to say, while I was in Tucson, Arizona, someone was giving clues about the case that was a little shocking. I don't know what that means, you know? I don't know what that means. But at any rate, we hope that this case is solved, and I hope that you guys have a great day. And I'm sorry I have a sort of a bit of a cold going on, but hopefully that clears up soon so I can get back to maximum voice quality. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. We'll try to be back on tonight for the deep dive, but definitely tomorrow at 7 p.m. Make sure you tune in. And I want to say thank you. You guys are the best. You all rock. Thank you so much.
Different voices, but the same song. Loving a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the flame remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.